Hey everybody, Professor Z here, and today we're talking about video recording basics. I want you to watch this video before you start doing your video projects, so that way you have a basic understanding of the functionality. Now, you should have already done your photography assignments, which means you should already know how to set your camera up properly for exposure, composition, and things like that. In this video, I just want to briefly go over things like aspect ratio, resolution, and the 180-degree rule. First, let's talk about aspect ratio, which is something that's true with photography as well. Every camera has different aspect ratios that they can shoot, some that take advantage of all their pixels, which will be a much better image quality. I mean, if you paid for the pixels on your camera, you might as well use them. So when you look at these, the top left one here is a 4:3 aspect ratio, which is our classic TV in the US. That's the NTSC format. That is definitely outdated at this point. The top right one is our 16:9, which is our common aspect ratio that your TV is today. So all the TVs that you have are going to be 16:9. And that just really means when you look at aspect ratios, it's 16 units this way by 9 units that way. So you could plug in any number, and that's just the ratio that we're going to have for our dimensions. And then here's an example on the bottom here of Cinescope, which is 21:9, so it's ultra wide screen, which is fun to watch movies in that. So when we talk about resolution, it's talking about how many pixels are inside that screen. So again, looking at the top right here, we have our standard definition from that classic 4:3 TV, which was a 480p was classified as, so it's 640 pixels by 480. This is 480 this way. So on the vertical line it's 480, by the horizontal line is 640. 720 is considered high definition. Again, we're talking about the vertical line when we talk about the rating, but then we talk about the dimensions here, so it's 1280 by 720. So this is a 16:9 ratio, and it is considered high def. Full high def, though, is our 1080. And the difference between, you'll see this says P on it, right? You might see 1080p or 1080i. The P stands for progressive, and the I stands for interlace. And that is just how the video scans on the screen. So progressive would be one line at a time all the way down, versus interlace alternates all the odd number first and all the even number lines second. Quad HD, kind of an intermediary here. And then we have 4K, which of course is our popular ratio these days. A lot more cameras are shooting 4K, even 6K or 8K cameras are on the market now. 2160 by 3840 pixels this way. And of course, if we do the math, this times that, that's how many individual dots are within our image. So the more pixels we have on a screen, the better image quality we're going to have. So now let's talk about frame rate. So frame rate is the amount of frames we see per second. FPS, frames per second. Now, if any gamers are out there, you might have a monitor that has a really high frame rate, like 144 frames per second. In the world of video, we commonly either use 24, 30, or 60, unless of course, we're talking about super slow motion. Hollywood, cinema movies are commonly filmed in 24 frames per second. That's what classic film cameras are shooting in, and that's what we still carry over to this day. That's a very cinematic look, is 24 frames per second. Most TV is shot at 30 frames per second. We also have 60 frames per second that we can shoot in. Now, the advantages and disadvantages, when we shoot at 60 frames, I have a lot more information here. I have twice as many frames versus the 30 frames per second. Now, the reason why TV doesn't transmit in that is because that's a lot more information to transmit over cable lines or over the internet. However, I could still record in this and then output in 30 frames later. One nice advantage about recording at a higher frame rate is, say I did want to slow down part of the video for a little slow motion at some point. I can slow down up to 50% if I shoot there and not lose image quality when I drop it down to 30 frames per second. So it is a nice advantage if I shoot a little, if I wanted to do slow motion later on. Now, when shooting video, having really good stabilization is always important. in the videos for the assignments, I show you some ways to do hand holding cameras. Always have a stable base, move with the camera. If you have the option to use a tripod or a monopod or a gimbal, it's always going to be a much better shooting situation. So this is a little example of a mini tripod. These are the ones that come in our FZ300 kits. We also have regular full-size tripods available for checkout as well. We do have some monopods, which are really nice because these are great for the run and gun type shooting. So if you just need to be able to stabilize, pick it up and move it, I really like using a monopod. Gimbals are electronic stabilizers that are really powerful tools for filmmaking because you can really move a lot and keep that camera very stable. A lot of the newer ones have electronic controls where they can control the settings on your camera from the back of the gimbal, which make it shooting even better. Some camera movement terms that you need to know. So anytime you hear someone say pan, it means turn left or right. So a pan is turning left or right on the center axis. Tilt refers to up and down. We can zoom using our lens to move in or out. Sometimes it's also called push in or pull out. And tracking is when we follow alongside a person. These are different things we're going to use for our projects. I'm not going to play this video within this video, but please do watch this on the website. This is a breakdown of the 180-degree rule. It's a nice video that's put together by VideoMaker, but I'm going to talk about it briefly in this illustration below. So when we shoot video, we really need to talk about the 180-degree rule. And that is talking about when we have two actors. So we have two actors right here, and they're having a conversation with each other. And once we set up our first camera, so camera one down here, once we set that up, we've created this line of action, this dotted line that goes right through these two actors. And the rule states that once we create this line of action, we have to stay on this side of the line. We can't break it and go to this side. So I can take this shot. I'm going to get this little shot over here. Number two, I'm doing my over shoulder. I'm looking at him, and I get this nice shot over here. Camera three is doing over the shoulder. I'm getting a picture of her. You can see the composition. When I'm looking this way, he's on the right side. When I'm looking this way, she's on the left side. If I were to break this rule and go over here to shoot her, they're both going to appear on the same side of that image. So that 180-degree rule is there to protect me, to make sure I keep the orientation correct. So I don't want to cross over this, and the only time I can move, if they start to move, this line is going to move. I can also, if I need to get on the other side, show the movement by moving my camera across the line live in the shot, and that allows me for the reorientation of that line. But for the most part, you want to stay on this line. So for one of your assignments for the knock-knock joke, you're going to stay on the same side the whole time. So you don't want to break that 180-degree rule. So some other things I want you to watch as well. So right now we are on the videography tab here, and we're at videography basics. If you just click on videography, I posted some really great videos here. So again, I have that video of the 180-degree rule. We also have some awesome composition tutorials here, and we have a rule of thirds video here as well. So go through and watch a bunch of these. These are really great videos that I found that other people have made, and we have a whole list of glossary terms for video shooting down here as well. So those are things that get you started for your videography projects. Go back to Blackboard now and start on your videography assignments. If you have any questions, please send me an email.